Hi, it's Ray from Pro Shaper Workshop in Charlton, Massachusetts. Tonight we're going to do a little video on this 1948 Studebaker Future Car designed by Virgil Exner. Now, he did one rendering of this in pastels on a piece of sandpaper, and this is in the Henry Ford Museum right now. Like 5 years ago, we wireformed from that picture. At first I had to do full-scale drawings of my drawing board in the back. And then using those full-scale drawings, we made this wireform. And the whole object of this vehicle, in quotes, was to use it as a teaching vehicle to my students. At the time, I really didn't trust my students to use aluminum. Aluminum is a lot more than steel when you buy it. So I prefer aluminum, but I use 20-gauge steel, which is easy to work with. And we made almost the entire skin of this with 20-gauge steel with, I don't know, probably about 5 or 6 different classes. And some of the panels were not perfect, and I had other classes remake the panels. So I says, it really needs to be in aluminum. So I started to have students do panels in aluminum. These panels here, and that's what we're going to focus on tonight, is just this panel here. What has happened now is this has been on hold. I'm not teaching the classes anymore, and I'm trying to think of what I'm going to do with this project and several others that I have. So I got a phone call, and I got invited to a prestigious concours, and it won't be until next summer. And they said, well, we don't care if it's a running driving car, but we'd love to feature it in our show. And if you could bring it all, together, as welded together, maybe on a dummy chassis or something. But I think I can probably do more than that. Who knows? I might be able to get a little bit of help from local students and stuff. I'm going to tune up all the panels that are on here. They all need edging. They need trimming. And some of them have some problems. And this one here I thought would be a really good one. And this was a problem that was always present when you worked with the students, is that they didn't know when they went a little too much. So this is supposed to have a little compound here, and a little bit this way and a little bit that way, and it would be just to fill the panel out. And when you have a little compound like that, it makes a much better looking panel. It's like a door skin. It needs a little compound. This actual door skin here would be just a kind of a curve, and it gets some of its strength from the curve, a simple curve. But adding a little compound to it would not be a sin, and I'll probably do that. It might only be a little bit more than a 16th of an inch of compound. This might have as much as an 1/8 of an inch of compound. But see right here, you've got a hollow. That means the edges are up higher than the center. And then you have what right here, that's probably the worst. You have 1.25 inches of rock right there. So how do you fix that? That's the question. Do you throw this panel away, or do you save that panel? And this was a problem I had with just about every student. One of the skill sets that they didn't quickly adapt was, when was a panel good enough? They couldn't feel or see, or had difficulties with seeing overdevelopment and underdevelopment. So you have to arrive at that Goldilocks point where it's fully developed. And you have to be able to see that and feel that. And you have the light to tell you what to do. You have your hands to tell you what to do. You have your eyeballs to tell you what to do. I used to tell all my classes there's 4 ways to do every human task. So we can attack this with a torch and heat shrink all that stuff down, and you can get a pretty good result. And that's the thing. Those 4 ways will all yield results that will be acceptable. 2 of the methods will probably yield a little bit better quality success on the effort. Like we have the torch we could use. We could use one of my shrinking discs. And I have the stainless steel shrinking discs, which work really good on aluminum. The problem is they do gall, so you have to use a lot of magic marker on aluminum. and it'll still scratch, and you'll have to sand it out. Well, this car is not going to be a bare aluminum car. It'll be painted, so you could sand those out, and they're not that deep, but it's annoying. But we've got a new shrinking disc that we'll be selling soon, hopefully, that won't scratch aluminum. That will be coming out on my website sometime soon. And then also, if you had an Echold machine, Echold machines have a pie die that will shrink internally. So you could put it in an Echold machine. It's probably at least $5,000 for one of those internal shrink dies, and it's great for just this. The die is made for exactly for this situation. So you need an Echold machine, which could cost anywhere from a minimum of $30,000 to $150,000 with tooling on it. So that's not going to be the solution for most people. But there are people out there that have those Echold machines, and they probably have that die, and they could get out of this fix really quick if you had that Echold die, specialized die. Another way to do it is to stretch the outside edges, and you would have to stretch them quite a bit. And what happens there is as you stretch them, that will make this hollow out again. So if we put that straight edge again here, this curve should have a little compound in it, because this is a real strong compound curve right here. We'll check the wires. We'll take this off and see what the wires say as far as how much curve is there. But this has an excessive amount. You can see that it's way out there. So we might have to use a combination. We can do that too. We can use heat, and we can stretch the edges. So that's what we're going to do, make a video showing how to save this panel so we don't have to make it over again. And we'll find out how long it takes. I'd guess probably 3 hours at least, maybe, to save this panel. So we'll take this one off here. And this one wants to come off. We'll have to put those on the bench. Then we'll take this off, and let's just look at what the wire says. And I don't have this straight edge isn't long enough, but look at that. That's dead straight between here, and then there's a little tuck in because you're coming down to tapering to a narrower rear where the tail light will be. It does have a little compound right here, so there's your rock that you want to have here. So one of the things that you have to be concerned with is when you're making one of these panels, you have to clamp it up really tight to find out where you are in relationship to the wires. And that's what the nice thing about the wire form is, you can actually see really closely where you are as far as development goes. So if you've got it clamped up, you have to clamp it in the exact same spot every time, otherwise you get a different reading. So I didn't follow really closely how they made that mistake, but that's what I'm going to do is I am going to wheel the edges. The edges, well, what will happen to the edges as you wheel them, you'll put more metal into the edges or more linear distance in the edges, and the edges will start to go into a wave like that. Once you see that wave form, this is when you're working on it on the wheel, then what you do is you work inboard from where that wave is, and you let that wave settle down. And what that does is it opens up the surface area of the material. So you create the wave, the metal opens up like this, and then it goes into the wave, and then you bring the work into here, which seems counterintuitive, but that actually brings the stretch material into here, which relieves the overdevelopment over in here. We got to clean the panel all up. I'm going to Scotch-Brite the panel. I'm going to mark where the radius is. I might take it out of arrangement before I work it, but I'll Scotch-Brite it so I can see where I'm at as far as every time I roll over with the wheel, the Scotch-Brite will leave a dull surface, but then the wheel will polish the surface back up again. So we'll bring it on the bench, we'll Scotch-Brite it and clean it up. We have the high spot right here. You can see that. What I always do is I'll center it like a seesaw here. It's high by about at least maybe 5/8 of an inch right in here. We'll circle that. There's where the bad spot is. And we'll do analysis with the... All right, so we got a low spot here. That needs to be developed. This might be okay. And we got a low spot over here, which means this edge is stretched a little bit. But there's a little bit of high spot in the middle right here, too. So we got a major and a minor high spot here. And we got to solve those. I want to Scotch-Brite this whole thing, and that'll give me a new surface to work with. I'll be able to see where I'm tracking and everything. So I'm just going to give it a light Scotch-Brite. And that'll clean off all the accumulated dust. This panel's probably last worked on 2 years ago or a year and a half ago at least. I said it was a Canadian guy, and I think it was the first panels. Two friends, both Canadians. Well, they might have met up here and became friends here. I don't know. So making this panel, you have to shrink up here because you got a strong curve going this way and then a curve going here. So that's the compound. So there was shrinks taken all along here. We just do a manual shrinking technique. We've got thumbnail dies, but I very rarely use them. And his shrink marks, these are called curtains. There's still a little residue of them out there in there. On the other side, there's none. And usually to get those cleaned up, he probably did 2 or 3 courses of shrinks and then followed up with maybe a couple over here to pump this out here. And that's why they're showing. So Scotch-Brite that a little bit. And this is 063 aluminum. So it's got some substance to it. On the back side, he picked up a little dirt on the bottom wheel, and it's printed the pattern quite a few times in here, but it was really minor. It'll all sand out with probably like 220 sandpaper. So this is going to be a painted car anyway. It's not a polished car. But we will polish it. After we get it all smoothed up nice, we'll polish it up, and it just looks beautiful. It's a good picture to take. When that's cleaned up, we'll take a paper towel, just wipe that dust off. Going to mark here. Again, this is the minor overdevelopment. This is the major. And this is the transition where it starts to dive over here. So that's for setting the arrangement after. So what I have to do is this is overdeveloped, this is overdeveloped. What I have to do is work all around it in order to bring the outer regions around the overdeveloped regions up to its level, and that will even that out. So we can do, again, a rock measurement. A straight edge is one of your best tools you'll have. You put that on there, and it's like 5/8 of an inch on either end when you have it centered right there. And this one is about 3/8 to 1/4 or so. We'll call it 3/8. We'll call this 5/8. And so to wheel this out, we can do it wheeling it all around like this. But I'm going to show you another trick, which I call taking it out of arrangement. So we'll take this bend out. And that will make the panel a lot flatter. You can see where that dives in like that. And it dives in over here. We can take that out more. The more we put it in the curl arrangement, that will flatten out. So you got to muscle it a little bit. I'm just got to get that little bit right there without poking my eye out. Gotta do it this way. Yeah. So what that does is kind of make the panel a much flatter panel going this way. So the advantage of that is now you can wheel that panel out with a fairly low crown wheel. You don't have to use a high crown wheel. So this is where the major culprit is. So I'm going to have to stretch a lot right in here to relieve that. And then I can stretch over in here and a little bit over in here. And I'll have to do here. But these three sections here around those two overdeveloped areas. And then this one be the one would be the worst, 2, 3, 4 in the order of being the culprit. So as we wheel, you'll be adding length or area to that edge. And it's the center of the wheel that does all the work. That's where the pressure is. And it's not that much pressure, but you see what happens? You get a wave forming. And everybody gets scared to death when they see that wave. That wave is your buddy. That's what we want to see. So we'll bring that wave up. What happens is the amplitude of the wave gets taller and taller there. We'll tighten it a little bit. And then we'll start bringing that in this way. But that's not stretching here now. Well, it is stretching here, but it's bringing that stretch inboard, so it's going like that. So by stretching that edge, it'll relieve or appear to relieve, because what you're doing is you're bringing this up to match this height. And as you come in, the wave will go away, but if you dwell too long in here, then you reverse the operation, then you start stretching in here, which is bad. So I've got the wave almost gone already. So now I got to put the wave in again. And I couldn't do this like this unless I had a high crown wheel if I didn't change the arrangement initially. And that arrangement is a baffling thing, but it's a real simple, mundane rule that you have to follow if you're really going to master this craft of shaping sheet metal. There's a lot of really accomplished shapers that don't do that. They probably don't even know it exists. I don't know. But a lot of shapers do a different technique where they carefully put shape into the panel in an incremental manner, accurately measuring how much you're putting in. And that's a very good way of doing it. It's just that, and I do that too, but beginners are going to make mistakes, and the question is, how do you fix the mistakes? Even a master can make mistakes, and you got to know how to make those mistakes go away. Now, we could have took the torch and shrunk that down, and we still might do that. I don't know. We'll see what kind of results we get after just a few minutes here. We've got, I don't know, probably 10 minutes into this now. We'll probably go to 15, 20 minutes and see what kind of results we get. And it might be a combination of stretching the edge and shrinking the overdeveloped area with the torch. And then I have a new shrinking disc I can use as well. It's a new technique shrinking disc. It was actually one of my students that developed it, and he gave it to me. And he says, try that out, and it works really sweet. So we're going to be making them and selling them. This panel's going to be trimmed a bunch on the edges and stuff still. So I'm looking for where the low spots are. I've developed the edge, and I got to bring the stretch inboard up to my overdeveloped areas. That's what I'm doing. Now I'll do this edge a little bit right here. I don't have to go too much with this one, but a little bit will help. I'm going to go one more run on this one too. See, another thing you do when you wheel is that it's not intuitive necessarily, is that you lift and push down quite a bit. Like this is going like this, and I don't want it to go like that, so I'll lift up on it a little bit because I can make that as much as a flat plane as I possibly can. It helps wheeling out. And you see where I Scotch-Brited, and now the wheel is polishing up the panel. I can watch where my tracking is because the Scotch-Brite reveals all the tracks. Now I'll go this way, stretch this edge a little bit. A bit over here. I got to be careful that I don't stretch this center region out too much. I only have to do a little bit on that. So now I'm going to go back to this top edge. I'm going to give it a little more stretch there. So there's that wave. The sheet metal has nowhere to go but to wave. And the more it stretches, the higher the wave will be. And then you get that wave, and then you come inboard with it. And the wave will go away. So you got to learn that technique. It's a real common technique. There's a little dirt there or something. Let me see what the hell's that. Let me get a little pick and check. It might be the gloves are coming apart on me. They got some little black marks on me. I'm going to get a pick and see if I can pick that stuff out. Looks like, I don't know, a little foreign material. It could be those gloves. I didn't notice it before, but it might have been there. Tell you the truth, I didn't really look really close. I don't know if you can pick it up with the camera. There's a little bit of, just a little spot here. All right. Give that a go. I'll try it without the gloves, just in case. It's always important to have your edges pretty good. And actually, these edges got some bugs on them, so they should be sanded, but I'll be careful. It's when your hand slips on it, you can get yourself cut. Now, I say I got the wave. I got to bring that wave in and get rid of that wave. But remember, you got to watch the wave really closely. And as soon as that wave goes away, which is pretty much gone now, then you're going to start stretching. So you have to go back and create another wave. Got another wave going. It's a good one. It's like surfing. You work the wave. It's one thing I've never done. I've never surfed. I guess not in this lifetime anyways. It's still pretty prominent right there. It needs a bunch, I think, because one of the wires are there, I think. But I think we're going to have to use the torch as well on it. All right, so now let's we'll put it up to the horizon view and see what we got here. We put it up to the horizon view. I don't know if you can see it. But there's actually, looks like a little low right in here. But I think I might leave that right now. Yeah, well, I'll give it a few passes through there. Loosen this up and out. And I got a little low over in that corner too. This bottom skirt's pretty flat, but not totally flat because we're always going to leave a little bit of crown in it. I should have taken a measurement with we took the seesaw measurement, the high, and how much the seesaw would have a gap on either end of it. We took that measurement when the panel was in arrangement. I should have took the same measurement with the panel out of arrangement, and we could probably gauge how much we've done. If I had a flexible shape pattern of this panel the way it's supposed to be, the flexible shape pattern would tell me exactly where I'm at. Because the flexible shape pattern doesn't care what the arrangement is. Yeah. Now you're going to see a lot of other shapers use the term form and shape. And I abandoned that years ago because when you look it up in the dictionary, form is described as shape. When you look it up, shape, it's described as form. So when you try and express an idea, it's pretty hard when they're synonymous. So, and then I mentioned this before in other videos. I read a jeweler's book, and the jewelers use the term form and shape as well, but they use them exactly opposite the way that metal shapers have been using them. So I use the term area and arrangement. And the arrangement is the bending that you do to make it look like the panel that you want. And the area is how much you have to shrink and stretch it to make it look like what you want. Now, a lot of shapers will shape both the area and arrangement simultaneously. They wheel the panel the way it's going to look like as a finished product. But as I will prove with this panel, you don't have to do it that way. There's 4 ways to make anything in the human experience, at least 4 ways, sometimes 8 ways. But they'll all do the job. The problem happens when one group of shapers say, our way is better than the other. You can learn from all the techniques. This stuff is 5,000 years old. And nobody's really added a whole lot to it. It's all out there. You can add a little infinitesimal amount when you're process of trying to master the craft. But what I'm doing here, a jeweler might have done in Egypt 4,000 years ago. So it's an old craft. One of the oldest human crafts is working with sheet metals. Mostly gold and silver and copper. And so that's looking pretty good. Now, of course, it doesn't look anything. This is the opposite panel. It doesn't look anything like that. But we know our bend is supposed to start here. I put that bend line in. So now we're going to set the arrangement. This is what I call the working arrangement. And now we're going to set it into its finished arrangement, which is a little persuasion. That's all. Now, it might fight us a little bit because I might have taken out some of the area value that I really needed. We're going to find out. So you can do it this way. This is your fulcrum, and this is your lever here. So I've got leverage because the metal's longer here. And I can do it this way. A couple sets of hands really helps. You can bend it over a pipe with a big fat blanket on it. That works really good. And you can also use the wheel, which I'll show you in a minute. So this side's resistant coming over. So now I'll put this in here. Loosen this up. And I just pull down on it. Now I want to start pulling down on it, on that line. That's where it transitioned from almost a flat down here to the curve at the top. So as I'm pulling it towards me, I use the leverage that I have over here. Now the bottom wheel is a lever. I mean, as a fulcrum. It's an anvil, of course, yes, but it's a fulcrum. And this becomes the lever. All right, so this is all balled up over here. This has got way too much curve going this way. So I'm going to lift up on it and tell it, oh no, I don't want you going that way. Now I lift up instead of pulling down. That's called the barking panel. Don't be afraid of the barking panel. So the panel was already made. It was probably at about 90% development, and it was done pretty well, especially for a first panel. But they weren't paying attention, and they overdeveloped. And oftentimes when a student overdevelops, they go into frustration mode. Frustration mode is not a good thing. You can waste a lot of time in frustration mode. If you feel like, oh God, I can't understand how this is, how am I going to fix this? I'm going to throw it away and start all over again. You got maybe 5 or 6 or 8 hours invested in this thing. So I got a little knot right there. See that? See, that's where the curve is supposed to start, but I got a lot of curve up here. So I got to straighten that out with using the bottom wheel as a fulcrum, and just carefully, I have very little pressure on here. Back it off a little more, because I'm not interested in stretching right now. I'm interested in arranging. So now I got that knot out of there. It's not totally out of there, but most of it. But I haven't been able to get this pulled over yet. I got to pull this over some more. So tighten that up a little bit. Now, once the panel gets sort of in the arrangement that's desired, it will move easier manually with your hands. Starting to look pretty good. I still got a little humpage here, I think, but it's great, improved greatly. Now this wheel I call my medium wheel. I have a wheel that will flatten this more, and that's probably what I'm going to finish it with. My finish wheel. Use it on door skins and hoods and stuff. We're still there. It's got to come over a little more. All right, so let's see what we got here now. All right, so we have some rockage here. That's easy to get out because I can stretch that edge right there. This is not too bad. We got a little rockage here. That's not bad. Remember, that was like 5/8 of an inch. Look at that. Oh, boy. See that? So we're on the road to recovery here. So we're in good shape. Next, I'll try to get some of that out. I think that shouldn't be there. So we'll stretch this edge right here, and I'll get that little puff out right here. So we're right. It's overdeveloped a little bit right there. But this was the main demon here. We've slayed that demon. It's supposed to have a little rock here because it's going down, but as you come into here, look at it, I'm actually low here, which is good because I can puff that up really easy. So I took that overdevelopment right out of there. Now, it didn't come out of here. It corrected by bringing this all up. So I don't think I'll finish the panel tonight, but I'll get it pretty close. And then we'll do the finish video next week sometime probably. So, all right. So I got to stretch that edge a little bit. Let's check that measurement. What do we got? We got, no, it's almost a 1/2 inch right there. So let's stretch right on that edge. This one's close to the edge. This one was way inboard, so that's a trickier one. This is much easier to fix. If I had a flexible shape pattern, I wouldn't have made that. I basically made that mistake when I was stretching lower here, and I pumped the center up a little bit too much. So I got my wave. And now I got to come in until the wave goes away. This is pretty flat through here, so. All right, so I still got a little wave, but let's see what happened here. It's going to be low now, watch. Yeah, see, it's low in there, but I got a little bit of high. The wave moved from here to here. So I'll do a little bit here and a little bit here. That should fix it. The thing is, you can't be intimidated by this. You got to be the boss all the time. It's just learning a few rules, and you can correct any mistake. And if you're going to master it, you have to be able to correct mistakes. I'm going to come around this side there. Mark, my camera guy, my office guy, he follows along and keeps the action going. He does all the editing. So now what we do is we'll 45 that. And this 45 procedure is 45 to the edge. That's bringing the stretch inboard a little bit to even out all that wave stuff. That settles just about any panel down. And every panel you do, as you make the panel, the edge is going to go wild on you. And first thing everybody does is go over and use a kick shrinker and make kick shrinker marks in the panel. And I hate shrink marks in a panel. I like the panel to be absolutely perfect. There's no reason to use a kick shrinker. So let's see what that says now. All right, so that's getting pretty good now. I got a little hollow here. We got a 45, it's still there. This is all coming up nice. So what I'll do now is I can probably finish that panel with my finish wheel, and that has to be polished and cleaned up. So I think what we've done is we've taken the curse out of this, and now what has to happen is we got to do the finished fix, basically, with the other wheel. We might use this one a little bit more, but yeah, see, that's reading really nice here. And there's a little high right there, but that'll come out real easy. So I think I'm going to call it right there. There'll be another video to actually finish it. All right, thanks for watching. It's Wray from ProShaper Workshop in Charlton, Massachusetts.